Actually, I don't know. What is the raffle?
So it's a just see it's
Raffle for cool stuff. Would they just go over the table and sign up for free?
when they sign up. It means that they'll be on our email list. Just let them know. And I'll mention it again when I start and I'll pull it in.
Testing, testing. Hello. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March open meeting of Texas Normal. Thank you all for coming. My name is Jamie Spencer. I'm legal counsel for Texas Normal. By a show of hands, whose first meeting is this? All right, we love first-timers. We're going to try to wrap up a little bit before comedy starts, just to kind of give you an outline of the evening. After the normal meeting, there's going to be some awesome stand-up comedy. And after that, of course, there's going to be the Mau Mau Chaplains. Let's all give a round of applause and a shout-out to Angela and Flamingo Cantina for hosting us for year after year after year. Please remember to tip your bartenders. And, all right, raise your hand if you've been to a meeting before. All right? Now, keep your hands up if you're a Texas Normal board member. Please, first-timers or non-first-timers, come and chat to us after the meeting. And if you're interested in volunteering, I assume most people know that the legislative session is going on. We're going to have an update from our executive director, Jax Finkel, on that later tonight. So that's going to be fun, finding out what's going on. This is sort of a point of personal privilege. For those of you who have been here many times, you know that I boringly start the meeting very often by telling you what our official mission language is. And at our last board of directors meeting, we actually changed what the Texas Normal mission is. It used to start by saying that Texas Normal's mission is to move public opinion sufficiently to legalize the responsible use of marijuana by adults, and then secondarily, to serve as an advocate for consumers to assure that they have access to high-quality marijuana that is safe, convenient, and affordable. And as I used to point out on a semi-regular basis, we really no longer need to move public opinion sufficiently. I used to quote a poll that said that 76% of Texans support medical decriminalization of some form or complete legalization. There's a new poll out recently that says that figure, I believe, is 83%. Does that sound right? 83%? So the board decided we needed to change what our mission statement was, and what it says now is Texas Normal's mission is to change marijuana laws so that they reflect the majority opinion of Texans, which is that the responsible use of cannabis by adults and patients should no longer be subject to penalty. Our focus is to increase public awareness of current laws regarding cannabis, as well as the legislative system and legislation regarding cannabis consumers in Texas. So personally, I just think that's fantastic that we now actually are broadcasting the fact that we are the majority opinion, and we just have to convince the legislators that they should do what you're supposed to do in a democracy where 83% is supposed to mean something. All right. Our featured speaker for tonight is going to be another lawyer. No groaning, it's only one lawyer this time. And also David Bass, our veterans liaison, was going to talk about Operation Trapped, but he's not able to be here, so he sent me an email message, and I'm going to give you all an update on Operation Trapped. I already told you that Jax, our executive director, will be giving us the legislative update. Also, if you want to go over and sign up for our email mailing list, we'd love you to do that. We'll let you know about things like our lobby days that we just had and other either party events or legislative events. If you do that, we are having a raffle tonight with a whole bunch of cool stuff. Just trust me, it's a whole bunch of cool stuff. You want to be on the email list, so go make sure that you're entered into the raffle. Usually it's every 3 months that you get me. We're doing every other month now because Dave Bass is a little bit out of commission, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of pieces of federal legislation that have come down in the last couple of weeks. Representatives Tom Garrett, Republican of Virginia, and Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat of Hawaii, have introduced bipartisan legislation in Congress to exclude marijuana from the Federal Controlled Substances Act, thus providing states with the exclusive authority to regulate the plant how they best see fit. The Ending Marijuana Prohibition Act of 2017, it removes the cannabis plant the Texas legislative session and those sorts of things. Please feel free to go to the National Normal website to look at not only this story about this piece of legislation, but also the next one, and contact your federal representatives and federal senators about it as well. And don't forget, yes, we are in a conservative state, but it's perfectly fine to point out when you contact your federal representatives, who are most likely going to call themselves conservative, that being against the war on drugs is actually the conservative position. It may not be the Republican position, but it's the conservative position from the standpoint that if conservatism means the government shouldn't get in your business unless you're trying to hit somebody over the head with a frying pan, but they should leave you alone if you're trying to grow a plant in your backyard, that's something that our conservative federal legislators ought to be able to get behind. And removing marijuana from the CSA, the Controlled Substances Act, would be a really good start. About a week to 10 days ago, I think, Dana Rohrabacher, another Republican from California, along with 6 other Republicans and 6 other Democrats, reintroduced bipartisan legislation, the Respect State Marijuana Laws Act. This is a related concept, and we'd be happy with either one of them. We are going to pull Texas over the finish line in terms of changing our Texas laws, but at and that's obviously our main goal right now. We have to change the state laws first, but we will have to worry about attorney generals like Jeff Sessions, who have made some really unfortunate comments that probably reflect their true views about federalism and when the feds should be able to step in and interfere with the Colorados and the Californians, the Maines, the Michigans, and everybody else that is having either complete legalization or some form of medical marijuana laws. So the Respect State Marijuana Laws Act would prevent the federal government from criminally prosecuting individuals or businesses who are engaged important piece of federal legislation that we're going to have to work on once Texas gets where we need to be, because I can tell you that as a lawyer, if I were going to be your lawyer advising you, Texas passes our comprehensive medical bill this year, hopefully. Well, if I'm going to be a lawyer advising your business, I'm going to have to tell you that depending on what side of the bed Jeff Sessions gets up on, you could be on the hook for tens, hundreds, thousands of pounds of marijuana. I mean, let's hope that your marijuana business is going to be a success, right? You're literally over time going to be selling tons of marijuana. That's going to be a life sentence in federal prison, depending on what any particular president or any particular federal Department of Justice thinks at any particular time. So again, go to the National Normal webpage, find out what you can do to urge your representatives, your senators, to support this legislation as well. I may or may not later get into some Donald Trump, Sean Spicer, Jeff Sessions type comments. I'm gonna skip them for now because we're having such a good time. Okay, I think we've got a verdict on that one. All right. So Now, some of you old-timers, and you know who you are, you may know our featured speaker's uncle. Before I became legal counsel for Texas Normal, Bruce Fox he probably didn't have the official title of legal counsel because Texas Normal was not quite such an official organization that had any kind of, let's face it, shot in hell of any real progress in Texas like we have today. But Bruce Fox was not only a member of Texas Normal and a lifetime member of the National Normal Legal Committee, but he used to be the lawyer that came out here and spoke to Texas Normal meetings, and he's been practicing since the early 80s. And he's defended many a marijuana client. In fact, without naming any names, I happen to know that there's at least one or two Bruce Fox clients here in the house tonight. Our featured speaker tonight, however, is his nephew, also a criminal defense lawyer. Michael has been practicing since 2011, and his other claims to fame, which are much more interesting, and hopefully he'll stick something in here about that as well, is that he went to his first Grateful Dead concert when he was 3 years old, and he's been to 116 Phish concerts. Yes, his name really is Michael J. Fox. Please welcome him to the stage. He's my friend. He's going to talk about some Travis County legal concepts and other things. Thank you. Michael J. Fox.
Thank you. It is Michael J. Fox. My dad went to Woodstock. I don't know, he was probably smoking at the time, came up with the name. Michael J. Fox actually changed his name when he came to the United States, so I am the original Michael J. Fox, just for the record. No, but I've never done him for Halloween, but it's on the list. So yeah, as Jamie said, he called me. He asked me to talk at the meeting, maybe towards the end of last year. I just had a child, about now it's a month today. And so as my new friend Archie said, I've been trying to make babies, which really just means having a lot of sex. And so I finally made it to this one as one of my first nights out. Jamie put on the pressure. Actually, I was on the news a couple weeks ago as my own toot to the horn because Jamie was like, I'm in court. Can you do this interview about House Bill 81? You know, I'm an attorney, so it was not only something that I'm interested in, a little knowledgeable about, not as much as Jamie, but also free advertising, so I couldn't pass that up. So I did get to talk to them. I got about 2 seconds on the air. Of course, it was talking about the House Bill 81 that's to decriminalize an ounce of possession, or excuse me, an ounce of marijuana, instead of making it a criminal offense, making it a civil fine, and then just some of the ramifications of that. I've talked to judges about it. I think Jamie or another gentleman, another attorney involved, Paul Quincy, brought me to the first Marijuana Policy Project meeting here. I don't know, that was 2 years ago maybe, when they came and they were asking not only just for money but ideas. We had folks there who were doing lobbying, and it was interesting to me, being the young guy at the table. I was with my Uncle Bruce, who I saw 15 years ago stand on the Capitol steps for Texas Normal, and it got me involved. I've fallen off a little bit, but with the help of Jamie, I'm back and hope to help the movement. Jamie Spencer. Tried one of the very first cases as a defense attorney, second chairing for Jamie. Not guilty, of course. But yeah, about the House bill, we were just talking about the ramifications. I've actually talked with a judge who was concerned about the civil liability with regard to this House Bill 81 before it was even House Bill 81. And that deals with how minorities would be affected by having a civil penalty. So there's still ramifications with that. So it's not perfect, but as my 2 seconds of fame on the on KView was, it's a foot in the door, I think I said, or baby steps or something to that effect, and then they flashed to something else. But I didn't come to talk about that. But I also, Jamie wanted me to mention one thing that might be helpful to some folks in here, someone you know. I do pro bono work with the UT Expunction Project. I actually missed out this semester because of my kid, but I've been with them for a couple years now. Margaret, I'm forgetting her last name, Meg Clifford. And it's Googleable, UT Expunction Project. For those folks that can't afford it, we basically help you draft, well, first we have you get your criminal history. We go through everything in your criminal history and determine what can be expunged or sealed under a petition for order of non-disclosure, free of charge to you, free soda, free pizza when you come. I've helped people who didn't exactly qualify to get their filing fees waived, but we still helped them because they were right there on the line with regard to whether or not they qualified to be considered indigent, so they didn't have to pay their filing fees, which are $300, $400, $500, depending on how many agencies you notify. So UT Expunction Project, if you know anybody who's having a hard time getting a job or just wants to clean up their record and can't afford to, hire one of myself and my colleagues, that's the time to do it. We do it every semester. There's an intake. We meet without the client, and actually the law students learn to do it. So it's also really cool because it gets a group of people it's UT Law School as well. Most of those folks are smart and go on to try to make lots of money and don't become defense attorneys. Us folks that didn't go to the best of law schools end up becoming defense attorneys, though I did graduate at the top. Easier in a smaller pool, my mom says. So, but it gets these kids involved with pro bono stuff, and I think just opening up their eyes. I actually ran into 2 kids that I work with in that project at the courthouse representing folks for free through the criminal defense clinic. So I always give them props when I see them. So mark that down. And I didn't print out paper, and I made some notes on my phone. Thank you. I'm parched. And stop me after 15 minutes because I'm an attorney. I'll keep talking. All right, a couple practical things that I've just seen in my practice so many times and talking with clients I wanted to bring to folks' attention. I'm not going to tell you how to, I can't tell you how to escape getting caught. You be smart is the best advice. But a couple things I wanted to tell you about that I found in difficulty in advising clients as to what to do in Travis County if you get stopped with a sack in your car, in your pocket, wherever it may be. Usually it's in the car. And that's because we do have the cite and release deal, which is another thing I brought up, which was the first baby step, if you will. I want to say that law was from 2007. And Williamson County and Hayes County have just started instituting it as well, where they give you a citation as opposed to arrest you, save you money from going down to jail, getting your car towed. You get a ticket, you show up to JP5, you do a walkthrough. No matter what your criminal history is, you're automatically approved for a personal bond, released on your own recognizance. You pay $40, and even they don't come after you for it, but eventually they'll get it from you. There's no warrant issued, but $40 basically, and you don't have to pay that up front. You get out. So then you get a court date, and you get a court-appointed attorney or hire an attorney. Nonetheless, cite and release is a good program, and because of it, it makes it hard for me to advise folks what to do. You're driving down the street, in my 6'4", you get stopped for expired registration. That's actually the best advice. Keep your stuff, up to date. Have your insurance, driver's license. It's the easiest way to avoid any further detention and investigation. But when you get stopped, your car smells like marijuana, which it shouldn't. Always keep that clean. Keep it at home, whatever the case may be. But if it's in your car and you get stopped, the officer smells marijuana. So this brings up a couple things. One, do most attorneys, myself included, even to this day, I still tell people, don't admit, and this is going to connect to another issue I want to talk about, consent, but you don't admit that you have the marijuana in the car. That to the officer may or may not be failing the attitude test. If the officer smells marijuana, he's got probable cause to search your car. There's no argument about that. We're not even talking about bringing in a dog. We're just talking about you smoked weed in your car last night, a week ago, and it smells like it. Or some of y'all's cars always smell like marijuana. I've actually had clients who told me their car doesn't smell like marijuana, and on a simple pot case, we get up out of my office, we walk to their car. Sometimes I'm 3 feet from their car. I'm like, smell it. And they're like, I cleaned it. And the idea is obviously be safe. But if they smell it, they're going to be able to search your car. And if you think about it, let's say that you don't have anything, they smell it, they search your car, there's nothing found, you get your ticket or your warning, you go on your way. I or Jamie or any of my colleagues, we never hear about that case because they didn't find anything, and you're not calling me for a ticket. But if they do smell it and you have something, the question becomes, do you say, yeah, I got a little pot of a pot, I'm sorry, here it is, or it's over here, blah, blah, blah. Or do you say, no, I don't have anything. Officer says, get out of the car. He's now got probable cause to search your car. Pull from the beer, And what do you do? And this is one of the first issues I want to talk about, because I still tell folks, you don't say anything, you don't admit to anything. Why? Because it takes away any chance I have of arguing a Fourth Amendment violation and something that prevents me from having an issue that I can, help you beat your case in court. Now, I don't know if anybody's been in trouble, or someone who's been in trouble with marijuana in Travis County, but most will tell you, and I think Jamie's talked on this issue before, if it's your first time, second time, third time, depending on who your attorney is, fourth, fifth, or sixth time, you're going to be able to get that case dismissed or something that's not too bad, all in all. And I wish it were better, but that's the facts. But if you don't give it up, or you make it difficult, let's say you've hidden it under the tire or some weird place that's difficult to find, the officer has to take longer to find it. It puts him out. He thinks it's a safety issue or some bullshit like that. And next thing you know, he has the discretion to arrest. Another option is to say, yeah, it's in my middle console, here it is. You're a Travis County resident. If the officer's, not an asshole and works for APD, Travis County Sheriff's Office, and most GPS officers, you're going to get a ticket. Now, you still end up having to you're still in arrest when you go get your picture taken and your fingerprints taken, but your car doesn't get towed. If you got your dog in the car, it's not going to the pound and potentially getting castrated. That happens. There's a lot of other things that don't happen if you admit to it. So it becomes hard for me, and it's just, I don't have the answer. I still tell people, do not admit to it, because I want to have every chance of fighting it. In any other county, that's for sure the advice. In Travis, if you don't admit to it, there is a chance you go to jail because you fail the attitude test. And so it gives the officer discretion. So it's hard. I don't have the perfect answer. I still say you don't say anything, and you still keep your rights intact, and hopefully you just get the cite and release. But that's an issue that I just wanted to point out, something to think about. Catch me later, and maybe I'll talk more about my opinion on that, but it's really, it's a tough call. Another thing I wanted to bring up that I've seen, and I've dealt with this in a bunch of different counties, and it's made the news a lot, is marijuana, Class B misdemeanor, under 2 ounces, versus the smallest amount of hash oil you've ever seen in your entire life, or wax, or dab, or whatever the kids call it that I can't keep up with. Everybody here, most people probably know that any amount of the hash oil or any hash, and we have the most vague, weird description of what that is in the code, but any amount is a felony. So any amount of one of those, even, it might seem more discreet, it's still, multiple levels up, and you're subjecting yourself to a felony just by possessing it. And so I go back and forth all the time with prosecutors saying, it's basically the same thing.
Pretty short, call it BHO.
BHO? What's BHO? Butane honey oil. Is that legal now?
No. Hell no.
Yeah. Well, still a felony. My point is the same difference. It's so having any of that is just an added danger, and you're looking at much more higher penalties and things of that nature. I think I had more to say on that subject, but if it comes to me, I'll remind you. One other practical piece of advice that I wanted to talk about before I get to this quick consent issue is clients of mine that, and this happened to a friend of mine as well, who go to states where it's legal, smoke marijuana, Colorado, Washington, all the fun ones, and come back for a job or probation. Most people know, so it's a quick statement on that, but you can be tested by a private company, and they say just because you say you were in a legal state where it was able to smoke marijuana, they can still not offer you the job, fire you because of it, because they're a private company. They don't have, just because it was legal in one state. So that's a simple thing, but a lot of folks don't realize just because you were taking advantage of one state's laws doesn't mean that it's going to save you when you're here in Texas. Same with probation. And folks that come from other states with cards, obviously that doesn't fly in Texas when you get caught with some pot. The main thing I wanted to talk about, and mainly because I've been researching the issue for the last 48 hours on a case that I have actually not related to marijuana, related to another drug, but the same law applies, and that's with consent. Same hypothetical. You're rolling down the street, you got pot in your car, you get stopped, Officer smells the pot, and smells pot, says he smells pot in the car. The thing that you decide not to say anything, he pulls you out of the car. He says, I smell marijuana. Can I search your car? Well, I just told you, and you might know that means he has probable cause to search your car, so why the hell is he asking you if you give consent to search your car? Because he's taking away that Fourth Amendment issue that I may be able to later argue. If he's thinking, well, he knows he's got pot in the car, he's going to say yes, because I've asked him, you've acquiesced, you're naive, whatever the case may be, you let him search, now I have no Fourth Amendment issue to argue. So once you give consent, it's over. In this particular case that I've been looking at, it's dealing with a person who was hanging out with another person that had drugs on them. Officers come, they're investigating at this person's house. The person whose house it is has drugs on them. The police find the drugs. The person's just there hanging out, watching the idiot box. And the guy is taken out of the house. He's hanging out there. He's just detained. The officers ask him, hey, did you know your friend had drugs? He says, yeah, I knew he had drugs. And he sits outside for a little while longer. Next thing they know, he comes up to him. He puts him up against the wall. He asks him to put his hands on the wall, spread his legs. Can you spread them any farther? The guy says, I guess. Spreads them a little bit farther. Put your hands behind your back. I'm going to search you. That's what it says in the video. I'm going to search you. Do you have any knives, anything pointy, or needles in your pocket? Do you have any drug? Before the guy answers, do you have any narcotics, any drugs? Pause, pause, pause. Do you have any drugs? I'm going to search you. I will find them. The guy says, yes, in my front right pocket. Okay? So the issue I'm looking at is whether or not that is valid consent, or did that gentleman show an acquiescence to a show of force, which is the definition of a detention. And if so, was that detention valid? So this all goes back to the point of, if this guy had not said anything, the drugs are in my pocket, or if someone says, yes, you can search me, not only would I have had a detention issue, I would have had a search issue. My point is, be careful with what you're consenting to, because whenever you consent, you take away your future attorney's ability, because you know they're going to search you illegally or legally, to argue that it was a violation of your rights. And we don't want that. Cheers.
Thank you, Michael J. Fox. And I should have actually in the intro, instead of wasting time on nonsense like the Grateful Dead and how many Fish concerts you went to, talked a little bit more about that expunction project, just to hammer that home. If you are a person or know a person that has a dismissed marijuana case or something that they would be entitled to expunge the arrest of, Michael and the other fine folks at the UT clinic that do the expunction project will basically do one of two things. Depending on if the person, it's like 125% of the federal poverty guidelines, will be able to get your filing fees waived. If not, then you might be able to afford the $300, $400, $500, but you won't have to spend the $500, $800, $1,000 to get an attorney to draft an expunction for you. And you really want to, honestly, you've got to have at least a lawyer look it over, because on that cite and release that he was talking about, when you get the ticket at the time, but then 3 weeks later you show up in JP5, you go over to the personal bond office, you fill out your own personal bond. Even if you just got out of prison for 30 years for a murder, you're going to be automatically granted a personal bond on that cite and release possession of marijuana in Travis County. That doesn't matter, but when you go over to the sheriff's, you put your fingerprints down, you get your picture taken. They don't put you in the striped uniform. They don't handcuff you, but that is an arrest that's going to go into something called TCIC, NCIC, Texas National Crime Information Center. You are being arrested for public records purposes at that point. You need to get an expunction after you get your case dismissed in any county, whether it's Travis County or not. Michael, the expunction project only does Travis County, right?
No, we do all counties. We set it up so that you're actually doing it pro se. In Travis County, we'll file
tell you exactly.
From around Travis, I mean, do you mean you'll do it, you'll at least look over the paperwork in any of 254 counties?
Yes.
254 counties in Texas, they're going to help you get that expunction done. I know there are people here that probably need that done. I know there are people here that know people that need that done, and those law students don't have anything to do except learn how to look over and draft an expunction, and they are supervised by attorneys that know what they're doing. So I think that's a really important point, and I appreciate Michael doing that. All right. David Bass was going to give an update on Operation Trapped. He is under the weather, but he emailed me something today to read about Veterans Lobby Day. Our Veterans Lobby Day was a great success. We had veterans from all over Central Texas attend. Our press conference had more media coverage than any other event we have ever held. At our press conference, I, David Bass, read my letter to Governor Abbott requesting that he meet with us to discuss why we choose to use cannabis for our service-connected disabilities. 2 of our veterans discussed how cannabis helps us and why we need a medical marijuana program in Texas. The press coverage went all over Texas on television stations, newspaper, and radio. We got our message to the people. After the press conference, all of our veterans went into the Capitol. We delivered our letter with 1,413 of your signatures. Those are all veteran signatures to Governor Abbott's office. Governor Abbott knows that we are knocking on his door requesting to meet with him to discuss this issue of medical cannabis. We want justice. A few days ago, we set up our Operation Trap display at the Capitol in the E2 hallway. We are displaying 380 of your pill bottles in support of Senate Bill 269, authored by Senator Menendez of San Antonio. If you don't know about this, these are pill bottles that are sent in by veterans who were prescribed all sorts of antipsychotic medications and all sorts of other pills that really aren't all that good for them. And each of these veterans is essentially certified, hey, I started self-medicating with marijuana and I got off these terrible pills and I don't have to be on these pills anymore. We've got this huge pill bottle display. Your pill bottles are displayed in custom-made display cases built by one of our volunteers. The display is moving, and it will be a profound educational experience for hundreds of citizens who will be visiting our Capitol this week. The display started last Monday, and runs through Friday, and runs through this Friday, March 3rd. Come see it if you can. Texas veterans are leading the fight for a medical marijuana program in Texas. Thank you for your support. David Bass, Director of Veterans Outreach, Texas Normal. And now, Jax Finkel with the legislative update and some other things.
Y'all know I can't stand at the stand when I'm up here. I got to move around. How are y'all doing tonight? What? Oh, I love it. So, real quick, I wanted to recognize, is Mike here? Mike, can you come over here, please? So Dave, on behalf of Dave, Jamie was talking about Operation Trapped, and delivering the letters was really amazing and powerful. It was a huge stack. It was beautiful. And if you get a chance, I recommend that you go down to the Capitol and check out the display. This is Mike. Come up here, Mike. Don't be scared. This is Mike. Mike made the cases for Operation Trapped. He donated his time and the materials. So everybody give him a big round of applause. And I have a big bag of stuff for you. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. So if you get a chance, go down there, check it out. We've got 8 different graphics. We've got the GOP platform plank that says that doctors need to be in control of the whole plant medical cannabis program. We've got a list of spiritual and medical organizations that support cannabis for medicine. We've got quotes from doctors, the stories of patients that have been left behind. So some of you may know that back in 2015, Texas passed a CBD oil bill for intractable epilepsy only. But as you also probably know, CBD only doesn't work for everyone, and many children children also need THC as a rescue medicine. So we have some of their stories up there too. And then also the poll that says 83% of Texans want medical cannabis available for patients. So it's a really awesome setup. We also did one for HB 81 that he was talking about, which is the civil penalties bill, or sentencing reform, if you will. And that one, that one sparked some interesting happenings. So I'm going to kind of go back over a few things that have happened in the last month. So, you know, we had our meeting in February. It was awesome. We had our lobby day in February. We had 375 people up at the Capitol. We had constituents in every single Senate office and in 3/4 of the House offices. That is amazing. You don't see that on lobby days for other topics. You don't. I mean, TMA, you see about 200 people. We had double that. So I feel really good about the turnout that we had. That was great. And then the following week, we did a educational exhibit about civil penalties, where we had, again, 9 or so pieces up about the bill and people's viewpoints. And some of those viewpoints came from law enforcement, DAs, sheriffs, who all support this program. Well, one of them is Kim Ogg out of Harris County. And apparently there was a Montgomery County DA who didn't take too kindly to that, and he decided to put on a press conference where he did the most reefer madness propaganda chit-chat I have ever heard. Well, maybe not ever, but in a real long time. So he was like, I'm not going to turn Montgomery County into a marijuana sanctuary city. Y'all, no. And then the next day, Kim Ogg came back, bam, with a press conference about her new diversion program that she's doing down in Houston, which is fully within her discretion. And also, Representative Moody had a conference, which was also about 81. All of them were flanked by law enforcement, city council representatives. So Houston represents millions and millions of people, and clearly they are all on board down there. So it's boding pretty well for 81. Joe Moody is the author of 81, and he's also the chairman of the committee that it's in. So that's really good. That gives us, basically, we're going to have a hearing, and it's going to probably turn out really well. A lot of those people have voted on the bill before last session, so we know probably how they'll vote again. We do have some freshmen on there that we're going to work on as well. But even if we don't have them, you know, we could have the votes. So 81 is looking really great, and I feel very positive about it. And then we had Veterans Lobby Day, which we heard about from Jamie. And then this week, we're doing the educational exhibit. And it's been really great. It's been up since Monday. It'll be up till Friday. I really recommend you go check it out. So now, what do we have coming up in the future? Oh, you guys, you know what I forgot? There's a giveaway. Did y'all sign up for the giveaway? So we're giving away like a safety case from BlackRock with all of the different accoutrements. I mean, I'll leave it to your imagination, but if you want it, you should go sign up while I'm talking. I won't be offended if you stand up. So, upcoming events. We will be having a patient lobby day on March 15th. So it's during spring break, and it is during South by Southwest. But if you have some time, come and join us up at the Capitol. We're going to be specifically talking about medical cannabis. And then following that, on the 25th, we're going to be doing the Puff and Putt. Now, for those of you who have been, March 15th is the patient lobby day. It is a Wednesday. And then the Puff and Putt is on a Saturday. It's on the 25th, excuse me, and it's going to be on Willie Nelson's golf course. We're going to have morning golf, afternoon golf. There'll be also disc golf set up for those of y'all who want to come and play. Live music, vendors, there will be glass blowing. There will be prizes for the winning golf teams and also for some winning disc golf. I think, what is it, closest to the pin and Ring of Fire? Is that what you disc golf people do? I'm not super familiar. Does that make me a bad normal person? So it's a lot of stuff going on at the Puff and Putt, and I hope that you guys will come out and join us. Also, what I want to make everyone aware of is committees have been assigned and bills are being assigned to committees. So likely they will start being assigned hearings soon. So make sure you're staying tuned to our alerts and our updates so that you know if a hearing is coming up. Now you can come and you can choose to stay and testify. Those days can be really long, I'm just going to warn you. But also, just so you know, for any bill that you are tracking and following, if you get on the Capitol grounds and you can get on their Wi-Fi on your phone, you can log in and support or oppose a bill. So anytime we have a hearing going on, if you can at least just drive by and hop on the Wi-Fi real quick and sign up, that would be great. Last session, we had the most people signing up for a hearing of all the bills. We also had the most calls and emails of all the bills. Now, I don't know if that'll be the case this session. Man, there's some fiery stuff going on up there. But let us make sure that we are engaging on this topic in a timely manner. So when it's time to contact certain people, we'll let you know. For example, I sent you an email that you are in the chairman's district, and it's important for you to email him because it's important for them to hear from constituents, right? But there's going to be a time where that action's going to change, and we're going to need you to do other stuff. So make sure that y'all are staying tuned to that. Jamie's lurking over my shoulder, so I'm pretty sure I've been talking a little bit too long. But what I'd like to do first, can I have that? So we're going to do the giveaway for the BlackRock set that I was talking about earlier. I would do a drum roll, but that's weird. So I'm just going to stand here awkwardly until I pull a name out of this picture. Was that too much? Okay. Nikki Bailey. Where Nikki at? Nikki? If you ain't here, I'm getting another name. Is Nikki up there? All right, girl. I have your thing. I'll come bring it to you. All right. Jamie is going to introduce comedy.
Okay, one real quick story from the legislative session of 2 years ago. My favorite part of the legislative session. It was not any of our testimony. It wasn't my testimony, but I'm trying to say why you should come. They had a sheriff's deputy there. He was testifying about the evils of marijuana and how the whole world was going to go to hell if our bills passed. And he started talking about Colorado and everything that had happened in Colorado. And he accidentally, I guess, said that they could see that in Texas a lot more marijuana was coming from legal Colorado than it was from the illegal cartels where all the violence was, which is obviously a point in our favor, and the room burst into inappropriate but very well-deserved applause because an opponent of our bill made at least as good a point as any of us did as to why we need to legalize immediately in Texas. Please come to the hearings. Find out when the hearings are going to be. It's a great place. You're going to be, I'm not kidding, you're going to get to tell your grandchildren you were there when it is a civil rights issue when you're talking about the patients, okay? You're going to be able to tell your children and your grandchildren that you were there and you fought for the right thing. This is the 2017 legislative session. We're going to get what we need. We're going to get legal marijuana eventually, but come help us with the baby steps. Come help us with the medium steps. I appreciate y'all all coming out tonight. Again, let's have a round of applause for Flamingo for having us for so many years. Tip your bartenders and bartendresses. And Chad, are you here?
It's Tyler Harris.
And we have Tyler is our MC for tonight for the stand-up comedy. Please give a warm welcome to Tyler Harris.